Jodi Sanderholm was the golden girl of her small Kansas town, a talented dancer with a radiant smile and endless potential. But beneath the surface of her peaceful community, danger lurked in the form of a silent observer. As Jodi's passion for dance carried her toward her dreams, a predator was watching her every move. What began as small, strange events soon escalated into something far darker, leading to a mystery that would shake her town to its core.
Dark Diaries presents The Stalking and Murder of Jodi Sanderholm.
Jodi Sanderholm, a 19-year-old from Kansas, was often described by her mother as a brown-eyed, brown-haired beauty. She had a close relationship with her mom and shared everything with her. In high school, Jodi was a standout on her dance team, serving as captain during her last 2 years. She continued dancing in college. Jodi took on the role of choreographer, creating all of the routines for their performances. She was also dedicated to her academics, graduating as valedictorian of her high school class. Jodi had been dating her high school boyfriend and was thrilled about becoming an aunt and often bought gifts for the baby. But amidst the happiness, unsettling events began to occur on campus, leaving Jodi and other female students on edge. Jodi started receiving anonymous hang-up phone calls. Meanwhile, incidents of vandalism, such as slashed tires and keyed cars, were being reported by women in the college parking lot. One particularly unnerving experience involved Jodi's best friend. While driving home from practice, she noticed a car tailing her closely. Feeling uneasy, she drove to the police station and parked outside, debating whether to go in and file a report. As she sat in her car, the vehicle that had been following her eventually disappeared into the darkness. Shaken but unsure, she chose not to go inside and left without notifying the authorities. Jodi and her best friend carried on with their routines, but one day, on their way to the parking lot, a car approached them. Jodi's best friend looked inside and froze. It was the same car that had followed her home that night. This time, she got a clear view of the driver. It was Justin Thurber, a local man known around town for hanging out with an older crowd. As Thurber drove away, Jodi's best friend ran to her car, only to find that her tire had been slashed. While she tried to figure out what to do, a stranger approached and offered to help her fix the flat. She accepted the assistance but couldn't shake the unease she felt. She suspected Justin Thurber might have been involved. Meanwhile, Jodi headed home after practice. She stopped at her mailbox to check the mail. Suddenly, a man approached her, forcing her back into her car. It was Justin Thurber. He drove off with Jodi. As her car sped away, her phone kept ringing. Calls from her mom, her best friend, and her sister. Jodi always answered, especially her sister's calls, since she was eagerly awaiting the birth of her niece. Frantic, Jodi's family contacted the police. Given the small-town community, the 24-hour rule for missing persons was waived, and authorities immediately began investigating. While her family and friends scrambled for answers, Jodi was driven across the border to a remote wooded area between Kansas and Oklahoma. Thurber, armed with a knife, forced her out of the car and led her deep into the woods. Isolated and terrified, Jodi endured an unimaginable nightmare. Thurber brutally raped, sodomized, and ultimately strangled her, leaving her lifeless body hidden in the wilderness. Using cell phone data, investigators tracked Jodi's movements after she left the school parking lot and discovered that she had been taken to Oklahoma. Officers were dispatched to the Kaw Wildlife Area to search. On January 9, 2007, searchers found Jodi's body in the wooded area. She had been severely beaten, suffering blunt force trauma. Careful efforts were made to recover her remains from where they were entangled in the branches. Just 15 minutes away, her car was located submerged in a nearby lake. DNA samples were collected from beneath Jodi's fingernails, and hair was recovered from her car. These were sent to the lab for analysis. Further investigation uncovered surveillance footage of Thurber stalking Jodi and other dancers around the college. Friends and acquaintances contradicted his claims, telling investigators they hadn't seen him the day of Jodi's disappearance. During interrogation, his alibi quickly fell apart. The DNA evidence solidified the case. Thurber's DNA was found under Jodi's nails, likely from her desperate fight to defend herself, and the hair found in her car was also linked to him. With this mounting evidence, authorities arrested Thurber, and the case went to trial. Justin Thurber was arrested and charged with capital murder, rape, and aggravated kidnapping. Thurber's defense team argued that he had a developmental disability, claiming his IQ ranged between 70 and 80. Prosecutors, however, countered this by pointing out that Thurber had completed high school, attended college, and maintained employment. A witness for the prosecution testified that Thurber had admitted to spying on Jodi for years, beginning when he was just 13 years old. He had watched her swim in her backyard pool and even peered through her window as she changed. Justin Thurber was convicted of aggravated kidnapping, capital murder, rape, and sodomy. He received a death sentence and remains on death row. Thurber has never admitted responsibility for the crime, but once sent a letter to the victim's family, offering to confess if the death penalty were removed. The family refused to accept the offer, standing firm in their pursuit of justice. I need your help. I worked really hard to grow my channel and on my videos. My goal is to reach 100 subscribers. Just by liking this video, it will help my channel out greatly. If you found this video interesting, consider subscribing.